Instant Compliance is a payment gateway that allows your payment application to run a credit card transaction without storing, processing, or transmitting credit card data. Using this patent-pending service removes your payment application from the scope of PCI, thereby drastically reducing your costs and liability. Any payment application that stores, processes, or transmits credit card data is in scope of PCI. This is an expensive and time-consuming process that must be completed every year. Payment applications in scope of PCI require audits, penetration tests, and considerable IT overhead. Let's start with an example of a payment application that does not use Instant Compliance and is in scope of PCI. There are three entities involved in the transaction process: the payment application, the customer accessing the payment application via a web browser, and the payment gateway. In the following process diagram, orange arrows represent credit card data transmission, while the turquoise arrows represent non-sensitive data transmission. Let's walk through a transaction. First, the payment application web server sends a purchase page to the customer's web browser. Second, the customer enters their credit card information and submits it, sending sensitive data back to the payment application. This puts the payment application in scope of PCI. Third, that credit card data is sent to the payment gateway. Fourth, the payment gateway responds approved or declined. Fifth, the payment application takes action based on response. During this transaction, sensitive credit card data is transmitted and possibly stored by the payment application. This leaves the payment application in scope of PCI and therefore requires an annual PCI audit, penetration test, and extensive IT overhead. With PayJunction's Instant Compliance, your payment application is removed from the scope of PCI. This means no audits, no liability of handling or storing credit card data, less headaches, significantly lower overhead costs. Again, there are three entities in the transaction process: the payment application, the customer accessing the payment application via a web browser, and the Instant Compliance payment gateway. In the following process diagram, orange arrows represent credit card data transmission, while the turquoise arrows represent non-sensitive data transmission. Let's walk through a transaction where the payment application is removed from the scope of PCI. First, your payment application sends a purchase page to the customer's web browser. Second, the customer enters their credit card information and clicks Submit. The Instant Compliance JavaScript intercepts the submit event and reroutes the credit card data to the Instant Compliance payment gateway. This is the only time sensitive data is transmitted. Third, Instant Compliance returns a token referencing the credit card data. Once this token is issued, no more sensitive credit card data will be transferred during the rest of the transaction. Fourth, the Instant Compliance JavaScript removes the credit card data from the form and replaces it with a token. Only the token is sent to your payment application. Fifth, the token is then sent to the payment gateway. This token can also be safely stored for future transactions if necessary. Sixth, the payment gateway responds approved or declined. By using Instant Compliance, the payment application never stores, processes, or transmits credit card data. The customer is unaware that the credit card is rerouted and exchanged for a token, and they are never sent to another website. All of this process happened in a few milliseconds during the form submission event. Let's break down a complete timeline of Instant Compliance. It all happens in two steps. 1. The initialization and transaction page load. 2. The user clicks Submit. Here's a look at what happens during each step. 1A. During the first step, your payment application sends a purchase page. This page includes a script reference to the Instant Compliance JavaScript. 1B. The Instant Compliance JavaScript is downloaded by the customer's web browser. 2C. During the second step, your customer never leaves your website. They simply enter their credit card, then click Submit. 2D. Next, the Instant Compliance JavaScript intercepts the form submit, reroutes the credit card, and exchanges the credit card data for a token. The cardholder data is removed from the payment form and replaced with the token. 2E. The token is sent to the payment application. 2F. The token is sent to PayJunction for processing. PayJunction uses referenced credit card data to complete the transaction and returns approved or declines to the payment application. 2G. Finally, the payment application confirms or declines purchase to the customer. Implementation is as simple as including the instant compliance JavaScript in your application. We have full developer support and code samples in multiple languages.